Everyone, the wait is over. It's finally here. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to the All Future podcast, where we talk all things tech, AI, Apple, various technology throughout the week. And today we're talking about Apple's newest product and arguably their biggest one in quite some time, although it doesn't seem that exciting at its surface. And that is Apple Intelligence. If you're enjoying these videos, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and consider subscribing if you haven't. We're making these videos throughout the week. But yes, Apple Intelligence is officially arriving. I think it's this week or next week with iOS 18.1 going out to everyone, not just in beta. So everyone's going to have the initial Apple Intelligence features that I've been playing around with in beta for a bit now. And yeah, this is a very exciting, big move, especially for a phone that you've seen tons of commercials talking about, the first iPhone built for Apple Intelligence. And now it's actually going to have that.
Yeah. Very exciting to have this roll out to everyone. And for me, I'm not on the beta. So yeah this will, I haven't really gotten to use Apple Intelligence outside of when I come over here and you show me stuff it's using. So I'm very excited for this. I think the general populace is going to kind of shrug and be like, cool, this is neat. But as always, I think with a lot of Apple products, the magic is going to be in repeated use. And then people are going to go, oh, wait, this is kind of cool. This is making my life better. This is pretty awesome. And so, the big things are kind of the headline here. It's not the full feature set. We've talked about this many times, that everything they talked about at WWDC this year is not here yet. Probably not until sometime in 2025. Who knows? Yeah. Right? Maybe never. I don't know. But it's like definitely push beyond that. But I think some of the things that are coming are things that you've been using. So as a guy who's been using some of these features, thumbs up? People are going to like this stuff?
Yeah, overall thumbs up. I think some of the things like writing tools maybe need to get better, or I need to figure out when I actually would want to use them. But text thread summaries, or basically just notification summaries, I'm a big fan of. Sometimes it's a little funny as to the AI understanding the text messages, and you will get it wrong. It will get it wrong in a certain way, like it didn't understand what it's actually saying. And I've seen funny ones like a Ring camera. You'll get 10 different notifications throughout a day of people that came to your front door or walked past, and then it summarizes that as there are 10 people at your front door.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
But that's funny.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really funny.
So stuff like that will get dialed in time as it figures out all these different apps and what things are actually being said. But I love it for text summaries because, sometimes you get details for something that you're supposed to be at. You get 10 text messages, and it just distills it down quickly so you know, okay, this is the details for this thing. This isn't an emergency I need to check up on and view all these texts right at this moment.
Yeah, and every time we talk about it here, we've talked about it in this kind of practical way, like, summarizing a bunch of texts from work that I don't have to go back through them and stuff. But the things like the Ring thing and the other things like that, there's going to be some hilarious screenshots. Like, imagine the person who gets the wall of text from an angry ex or something. How is that going to summarize it? It's your ex wants you to die a horrible death. Breakup text. Like, you think about
I've seen there's a breakup text.
Is there one? Oh, no, I haven't seen it yet. That's funny. But that's the kind of stuff it's going to summarize. And I wonder how it's going to do that. It's like, it turns out you're the worst person that ever lived, and this person hates you. Oh, that's crazy.
It'll say something like expressing disdain, semicolon, and then give other little summaries like that.
There's going to be a ton of stuff like that, right? Like, people are going to get summaries that say, oh, by the way, your grandma died. And it's like so people are going to, I know that I always think real hard. If I get the text, whatever, someone died or something, that condolence response, I always really think about that. It's like, I try to tailor it to the person or whatever, but Apple's just going to ruin all my nuance and be like, oh, Matt says, hope you're feeling better.
Matt says thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. So those are summaries. I think a lot of people are going to like those. And there's going to be, like you said, a lot of funny ones, which I'm excited to see because they will be pretty funny. Yeah. And everyone's going to have this suddenly next week, at least everyone that updates. So that's all going to be good, I think, and it'll be exciting to see that improve. But another one that is already in beta and will be coming is email priorities. Mm-hmm. And I've already seen this. It will like surface a important email, one that it thinks is really important, at the top of mail now. And I don't know. So far, it's been getting some decent ones. I had the details for a important gig, and it was actually kind of nice that it wasn't getting like buried under everything new I was getting. It was still sitting right there, even though I had viewed it. It knew that maybe I hadn't replied yet or something. I'm not sure what it's thinking about, but it puts it at the top there. That's something that I'd love to be able to customize in some way, and that is one of my questions with a lot of this stuff is, how much is it just learning versus I wish you could kind of teach some of this?
That's yes, excellent point there. I was thinking it's almost like, when you're on Apple Music or something, you're playing a song, you can tell it, hey, never play the song again. And it goes, all right, done. Or like, hey, I like this. And it goes, oh, cool, I'll do this more, right? So there's a machine learning element, that's been around for a while now. And how customizable is this going to be, and how much is it going to learn? And to my knowledge, I don't think there's a mechanism really in place to even do it in this case, right?
Yeah.
Like going back to the text message summaries, like I should be able to tell it, never summarize a text from my mom or something. Like always just give me the whole thing, right? And I don't think that's really there yet.
Yeah.
That seems like something that'd be fairly easy to implement though, so I imagine that's coming. But that's really when this stuff is going to start to be great. When you can really talk to it in natural language, personalize it towards you. ChatGPT is really good at this. Like it'll do that little memory thing. Will come up when it remembers something. So you can tell it, hey, only give me list in this format from now on. And it goes, no problem, on it. I think that kind of stuff coming to Apple Intelligence is going to be great. I'm interested in the email thing. I use third-party email apps. I have for years at this point because I've never really liked stock Apple email apps. So this might get me back onto the Apple side, I think.
Are there ones like the emails apps that you use? I assume what do you use?
I use Spark right now.
Okay, so that already will like prioritize and
it already categorizes and prioritizes. Yeah, so it'll split it up between like newsletters, like orders, tracking info, or whatever. It like has some kind of categories that it auto does, which is nice. But you can't beat something that's going to be fully integrated, right? So like having that kind of integration, and that's something that I've kind of missed. That's already built into Apple email. It's been for a while where it'll take, like if you get like a date or something in there, it'll kind of put it to your calendar. It'll talk between the apps, you know. And I've been missing out on that. So yeah, I'm excited to try it.
Nice. Yeah, and then you'll also get AI writing tools built in there. I guess you'll get it system-wide, so you could still use it within Spark.
Something I will never use, man. I kind of pride myself on my writing and my word choices. No, not going to use this.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can tell it's AI. You can tell it's new. But I almost see it as maybe something that's kind of helpful. It's like using a thesaurus or something, maybe. So you kind of get, if I wrote it formally, extremely formally written by a robot, here's how it would be done. Let me add some of that into my what I was writing.
I will say, anytime I've used GPT for kind of writing help, that's what it's been a super advanced thesaurus for me. It's like, I'm like, you worded this terrible, but that's a great word to use. That's the word I need, and you like kind of pick the best parts out of it.
Yeah. And so the next feature is one I think people, I don't know, this might be the one we see also people experimenting with a lot more, is photo cleanup. And I actually haven't experimented with this yet.
You haven't used it at
I don't
all,
know why I'm assuming everyone will if I've never.
You've never used it. Yeah.
But from what I've heard and what I've seen, it's like it works pretty well sometimes, and then other times just doesn't really work well.
Like all generative fill image stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's going to be some also hilarious images, I'm sure, where it tried to clean something up and just completely messed up the background or whatever people are trying to do with it. I'm curious to see what it's like, but I'm sure we're going to get Google compared to Apple comparisons, and it's just going to be like Google's blowing them out of the water for now.
Probably, yeah. Just because they've been doing it a little bit longer. The thing with all those like generative fills within a image, it's easy to screw it up with certain kinds of images, like especially if like part of the image has like a repeating pattern. Say you're in front of a wall or something, like a brick wall or something.
Yeah.
And there's a poster on that wall and you're trying to get rid of it. Generative fill on that, boom, it's going to make bricks. That's going to work, no problem. But then let's say on the other side of the subject there is no wall, and you try to do generative fill there. Sometimes they'll go, oh well, I see this pattern on this side of the image. I'm going to try to create it on this side too. And you'll get like a weird like column of bricks. So this technology has always been a little iffy, even when you're paying for whatever the subscription is to Photoshop right now, $50 a month or whatever. So I'd imagine this will be nice for some people. Some people will be like, nah, not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious about features like this, though. I always wonder why stuff like this usually comes to mobile first. Like, I would love to see this feature on Mac, and I'm assuming they'll bring it to some degree, but like, I don't know, I could see myself using this feature in Final Cut Pro or something in the future. And I feel like if they make a video fill version of it, it's going to come to the iPhone. And then
I got some inside info on this.
Yeah. Okay.
I used to work fairly closely with the Final Cut team. Did a lot of PR stuff with them and things like that. And this, I remember I did an event with them. It was a YouTube-based event. It was at the YouTube Space here in LA, and it was Apple like had a thing to teach creators Final Cut. So I was one of the presenters on that, and it was right when the Clips app came out. Do you remember that on your phone? It's like Apple made kind of like it was like make kind of an Instagram vertical video thing, and it had text and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it had a ton of cool features in it, like auto captioning and text tracking to a little thing in the frame and stuff. None of that was in Final Cut.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to the Final Cut guy, and I was like, "This is cool, man. Why isn't this in Final Cut?" He's like, "Oh, well, because the iPhone makes trillions of dollars and Final Cut does not." So it's like all the teams like Apple is set up mobile first really for their apps, and the desktop guys are way down the rung. I remember this was before the main Apple Circle campus opened, so it's still like One Infinite Loop, and I would go there for Final Cut stuff, and we'd meet at One Infinite Loop and then get in vans and go to some other building like on the other side of Cupertino where the Final Cut guys were. Like they weren't even in the building. So like it's about the money and resources, right? The teams are just so much smaller on pro apps than they are on the kind of flagship iPhone stuff. And not even flagship. That's like a D tier iPhone feature, and that was still more important than the entire Final Cut team.
Yeah, it's just as like for the workflow, I'm like, man, do I really have to bounce this out to my phone to get
so
this
weird,
task
right?
done?
Yeah, like, and that's especially during that era. It's not so much anymore, but that definitely used to happen a lot. Where there'd be apps that had cool features, and you would make something in the app and then bring it over to your desktop. There's a lot of like visual effects apps that used to do stuff like that. I remember I used to use it was called Action Movie Effects.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, and it would do like it would do motion tracking for like muzzle flashes or like jets exploding, just crazy stuff. But it was so easy to use, and something that would have taken half a day to figure out in After Effects or Motion or bringing stuff. And it was like, oh, boom. And so I would shoot stuff on the iPhone, bring it in Final Cut, do a little color grade on it. Looks like I spent all day on something.
Yeah, and that's always so funny that happens. But I would love to see, all that to say, I'd love to see these features make their way across the entire platform of, I guess, M series chips that have Apple Intelligence.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. So the next thing is the new Siri, and this may be deceptive to some people, and I think it even confused our producer, Andrew, that the new Siri is not better yet. It's just the new interface. He said, I honestly have not noticed the difference in our notes. And like, you have not noticed the difference.
That is true,
Andrew.
buddy. You have not, because it's the same thing.
Yes, exactly. And it's just as dumb, but it's the new interface, so you think it's smarter, and I think that's almost a bad move on their part. Maybe they just needed to move with iOS 18.
They shouldn't have done the full screen Siri wavy thing until it was integrated. Because people are going to, you're exactly right? People are going to pick it up like Andrew did here, right? Because it seems like it's new. Apple, if you're on the beta, you're supposed to be having Apple Intelligence, and then you go, "Oh, this didn't get better at all." It's like, because it's the same thing.
And then so people are going to be like, "Oh, wow, this is no better," and maybe continue giving up on Siri, and then they're going to push an update in the future. Maybe they'll do a good job of making people aware this is now the new Siri, but we'll see how this whole rollout goes. I'm very curious because there's rumors of an October event. At least some sort of live stream. I'm curious if they talk about Apple Intelligence at this event there. But all that to say, you're getting a new Siri interface, but it's not actually going to be any better than current Siri. It's still going to make the same mistakes.
At least for now.
Yeah. One other kind of cool feature is multi-track voice memos. And they still haven't released this yet, but it will be coming quite soon. Do you remember this from the event?
No, not at all. You're going to need to break this down to me. Do you mean it's recorded in stereo? What is it?
No, you can go back on top of a voice memo within voice memos and record a second layer. So I think the example they gave is like someone lays down a demo, because tons of musicians tons of musicians use the voice
Yeah,
memos
it's
app
an easy record,
for demos,
like a quick record. Yeah.
send it to someone. But, you get one pass. You can chop the edges, but that's it. So here you can make a quick guitar pass.
It kind of made it a de facto GarageBand multi-track editor thing.
Yeah, and then you can go back on top, add vocals, and then send your very quick, rough demo to someone, but at least you have multiple passes at it to add layers, which is kind of cool.
That's neat. I mean, yeah, a very niche thing. I can't see it being used for anything outside of music, right? Like, why else would you want to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people get creative these days. Maybe like a multi-track TikTok where two voices are talking. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess. But yeah, cool.
Yeah, the majority of people out there are not going to recognize that this is there or use it. But in any case, Apple Intelligence is arriving. But of course, we're talking about right now that it's kind of a slow arrival. And that's because, according to Mark Gurman, Apple is 2 years behind in AI. So what are your initial thoughts on hearing 2 years behind?
Dude, what does that even mean, man?
Yeah.
It's such like a crazy thing to say. Like, I get that you have to put like some kind of metric to it, but what would that even be? Because 2 years ago, I mean, LLMs were really in their infancy for public use. Apple's clearly beyond that. So I don't know, like 2 years behind. Like but whatever. They're certainly behind. But how do you quantify that? And as Apple always kind of says, like, who cares if we're behind in something if when we do it, we get the right things right. Yeah. And we were talking earlier about the image, erase kind of stuff, like generative fill things, and how like Google's probably going to be better than that than Apple off the bat because they've just been doing it a little longer. But if no one's using that feature, what does it matter? So I think it's fair to say Apple is behind in AI stuff. We've said this since this podcast has been in existence. I don't think that they are nearly as behind as people want to say in the ways that it matters. And the most important way that it matters is, are you selling more phones because of it? Right? That's really the whole point of it all. That's why any of these companies are doing this. And evidently they are selling more phones, or at least as much phones. It's hard to get the exact number of iPhone sales these days, but it seems to be they're selling iPhones. So are they behind? Well, as we used to say when I was on the JV football team, scoreboard, baby. Like, who cares if you're talking trash if I've got the higher score, right? And if Apple's selling more phones, it doesn't matter if their AI maybe is not as good.
Yeah. So the metrics he does use here are that ChatGPT is 25% more accurate than the new Siri and can answer about 30% more questions. So that's what they're using. But yeah, again, I have this question of, is it just 2 years and they're always 2 years behind going into the future, or do they see like an exponential jump for GPT that Apple's not going to have? Because if it's 2 years, that I don't think that's going to matter.
Yeah, and what was that problem set they gave it, right? Because if I use the newer kind of Chat GPT 4.0 or the new model that's more like scientific notation kind of stuff, I'm sure I can get much more accurate answers than I could from when the Siri AI is going to be there. But if I'm using, like, is one going to tell me how to make how to like flambe a dessert better? Like, they're probably going to be the same answer, right? Like actually like practical things people would use it for. I don't know how people are flambeing stuff, but like whatever you're doing. I think that it's probably going to be just as accurate. But in certain cases, we know that was going to happen because Apple's trying to do more on device, and it's never going to be as good as the ones that are okay with sending your private information out into the general world. This is why Google Home has always been traditionally a little better than Siri at a lot of stuff, because it's not trying to keep things closed loop and they don't care about the privacy aspect of it.
Absolutely. And for me, seeing that 2 year lead, I don't think that's long enough to where if it's really they're only 2 years behind, going into the long future, it's like, I think with the ecosystem and the upgrade cycle most people are on, 2 years is going to be fine. Most people are not going to want the latest, greatest thing right away unless they know it's great and integrated into everything.
Apple is 10 years behind with being able to put the icons on your home screen wherever you want. Seem to work out okay for.
Yeah.
That's a great point you bring up. Like, what does that 2 years really mean? Because it's a gap that they could close instantly if they really wanted to, right? Like they're choosing not to go that route.
Yeah, and the majority of these things are software provided, like you were saying. So you can just have the ChatGPT app. My action button now goes to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And if you want to use Gemini, if you want to use Llama, all these things, you can get them on your iPhone. It just means that you're connecting to a server. And if you want to be on device more, that's going to be on Apple Intelligence, which may not be quite as good as those at any given point in time.
Are you using a lot of voice on ChatGPT, or are you texting? It's wild to use that and then go back to something that's a Siri command.
Yeah.
Jeez, ChatGPT has gotten so good at that voice, man. The inflections and all that. I forgot what Soul, I think, is the voice I use. I forgot what name I'm using.
I forget, yeah.
Yeah, because you can pick the different ones in there. But it sounds great.
Yeah.
And you notice it's so jarring if I tell my HomePod to do something, or just tell me the weather, and the HomePod's like, meh, 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 meh. It sounds like just like it sounds like a robot.
Yeah.
And yeah, like GPT is like, damn, man, this sounds great.
And it's weird to switch off from just completely natural language, stumble over your words, fix stuff, it gets it correct.
Yeah. Interruptions,
versus
like everything,
what you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes do commands twice because you didn't quite get it right.
I like how we were all like, oh, it's no big deal. Apple's 2 years behind, blah, blah, blah. But also, they're getting crushed by this.
Yeah.
Thing. So we kind of negated our own argument a little bit. But,
yeah. Well, I guess we'll see how the new Siri is when it
exactly,
eventually comes. I hope it's closer to those things, but it might be 2 years behind when it comes to voice. And I guess people will care. But if you want it, you can use ChatGPT like we're also doing on our phones.
Exactly. Someone we haven't talked about today, that's certainly still a major player in all this, Microsoft. And just recently they have released their agents, their AI agents. And for you guys who don't know what AI agents are, think of them as kind of purpose-built AIs that are executing a task. And this is where AI, I think, is really, people are really going to get excited about this once this is really starting to proliferate into the general masses, right? Because right now AI really is this general use tool, right? Almost, the way I would describe it is that right now AI is a encyclopedia, maybe something like that is a way to kind of think about it. But these are much more. Imagine like a car's owner's manual that can also fix the thing that it finds wrong by using the owner's manual, right? It's much more hyper specific. It's built for a purposeful thing with purposeful intent. And like I'm excited about these because I've said this many times, when AI can start to execute stuff, that's when it's really going to make a difference.
Yeah. So I was trying to think about what kind of things this could do, what kinds of things. And this is going to be integrated into Microsoft Office, so you can do specific things and have specific tasks. But I think for most people, including myself, it's actually hard to think about what we would want an AI to automate because we've never had technology quite this good. But one little example I have is that every time I make a video on my Tesla channel, I make a quick summary. Then I send it to my producer, Andrew, and so that he has a full summary of what the video includes so that he can accurately make a thumbnail and title and everything. And so it used to include the step of me summarizing it. And now I have Notion AI do that for me, make a summary, and usually it gets it pretty well. But then I have to put that into messages to send it to him. So literally just a time-based thing that sees I did a script. It automatically summarizes it in the evening once it knows it's already been completed and finalized, and then it also sends the text. It's a small example, but stuff like that, when you build all of that up, it just saves so much time. Do you have any examples like that of all these steps?
I mean, a million things, right?
Yeah,
a million things. And, people have done this for forever. They built custom Python scripts to do this kind of stuff.
I'm sure I could get that done.
Yeah,
by writing a thing.
Well, even in the shortcuts app on the iPhone, people have done these kind of triggers, But the difference is it's having that LLM built in. It can do things like the summary and everything. It's just much smarter at it. And what's crazy is that eventually Andrew's going to have his AI agent that gets triggered when he gets the message from you. And then whatever, it pops into Midjourney and makes a thumbnail and sends it back to you. And he's just on the beach somewhere sipping a Mai Tai, and the AI agents are doing all the work.
He does seem like the one that would have that
dialed in. He might be doing it right now, man. We might.
We don't even know.
He's been touring and stuff. I haven't seen him in a while. He might not even be real for all I know.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely that kind of stuff is going to happen. And these are those types of things that are going to make life easier for some people, and also make people lose jobs.
Yeah.
But this is the way it's going. Like AI that can execute on things, these AI agents, as we start to put these in people's hands, and unlike, say, learning Python to like program something, or even dealing with Apple shortcuts, this is, you don't need any of that knowledge, right? And you can say, plain language, hey, do this thing, and it goes, all right, I'll figure it out. Like, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see all these AI agents come to be and then figure out how we can train or make our own, because we all have specified knowledge or specified tasks that we do. And it's really cool that a general AI can do stuff, but it's not always doing what you want it to do. And that's what these things are for. So there's a lot going on in this space. I'm excited to see what Apple brings out. But soon, everyone's going to have their first taste of Apple Intelligence with iOS 18.1.
Looking forward to it.